I was at work when the voicemail came in. My phone buzzed once, no caller ID. I ignored it until lunch. Then I saw the transcription preview. Christmas is canceled. Expect a call from my lawyer. It was from my dad. I sat in the break room staring at my sandwich, not hungry anymore. I played the voicemail. His voice was cold, calculated. No emotion. Just, you've made your choices. Christmas is off. Expect a call from my lawyer. Then a long pause before he hung up. That was it. No explanation. No warning. The last time I spoke to him was 2 weeks ago. We were at my sister Amanda's birthday dinner. He made one of his usual comments, something passive-aggressive about how I've abandoned the family because I moved 2 states away for a job. I didn't bite. I just smiled and said, I didn't move away from the family. I moved toward peace. He didn't like that. Dad is the kind of man who thinks love means control. He hides it well to outsiders. Most people think he's charming. But inside our house growing up, every holiday was a powder keg. When I was 16, I saved up for months to buy my own guitar. He smashed it after I refused to go to church one Sunday. Said I was worshiping idols. When Amanda left her fiancé, he didn't speak to her for a year because he liked the guy more than he liked her independence. So yeah, when I heard that voicemail, I didn't argue. I didn't call back. I knew better. Later that week, I got a letter from a law firm. My dad was removing me from his will. No surprises. The letter was unnecessarily dramatic. Phrases like severance of familial obligations and breach of moral loyalty. I read it once, folded it, and slid it into the back of my drawer next to the lease for my apartment and a picture of my mom, who left him when I was 11. Amanda called me the next day crying. She'd gotten the same letter. He cut both of us out. I asked her, do you want to do our own Christmas this year? She said yes without hesitating. So we did. Just the 2 of us, plus her dog, 2 mugs of spiked cocoa, and a tree we bought from a gas station lot. We laughed more that night than we had in years. No one yelled. No one threatened us. No one tried to buy our silence with gifts. It was the first real Christmas I ever had. January came and went. No follow-up from the lawyer. No apology. Not even a cheap guilt trip email, which was honestly more surprising than the voicemail. Then in February, I got a call from Aunt Deb, Dad's sister. She sounded tense, like she had debated even dialing my number. Eli, she said, your dad's in the hospital. I didn't say anything. She waited, then added, he had a fall. Slipped on ice outside the church. Broke his hip. Still I said nothing. She lowered her voice. He asked for you. I laughed. I didn't mean to, it just slipped out. After all the silence, the threats, the lawyer? Now he wanted me at his bedside? He wants to talk, she said gently. I think he's scared. I thanked her for letting me know but told her I wasn't coming. Not out of spite. I wasn't angry, I was exhausted. You spend your whole life trying to earn crumbs of warmth, and then one day you stop being hungry. I told Amanda that night while we cleaned up dinner. Do you regret it? She asked. No, I said. But I feel like I'm supposed to. She nodded. You're not. Not anymore. A week later, a package showed up at my door. No return address, just my name in blocky handwriting. Inside was a photo album. Leather-bound. I opened it carefully. The first picture was me as a kid, asleep on Dad's chest in a recliner. I didn't remember it. The next few were of birthdays, camping trips, awkward school photos with missing teeth. A few had little sticky notes on them in my dad's handwriting. You loved that bike. This was the day you beat me at chess. You didn't know I took this one. You looked so happy. Near the back was a folded note. Short scrawled. No salutation. No signature. I never knew how to love you without trying to own you. I see that now. I'm sorry. That was it. I closed the album. Sat on the floor for a long time just staring at the cover. I wasn't sure how I felt. Not angry. Not healed either. Just still. Amanda called me the next day. She'd gotten one too. Different photos. Same kind of note. I think it's his version of trying, she said. Too late. I asked. Maybe. Maybe not. But at least this time it's quiet. We didn't call him. We didn't send anything back. But we kept the albums. Not as forgiveness. Just as proof that even if some people never learn how to be who you needed, sometimes they try, in their own broken way, to leave behind something softer than what they gave you. Spring came slowly. Amanda and I started a new tradition. Monthly dinners at her place, no occasion needed. We didn't talk about Dad much. Sometimes the silence said enough. Then one rainy Sunday in April, I got a text from Aunt Deb. He's asking if you'll come. Just once. No pressure. I stared at it for a long time. I wasn't sure what I owed him anymore. But I'd thought about that photo album almost every night. The apology wasn't perfect, but it was real. And the silence had stopped feeling peaceful. It had started to feel like a wall I was building out of pride. So I said yes. The hospital was beige and cold in all the usual ways. When I walked into the room, he looked smaller than I remembered. Shrunken. Human. Not the towering figure from my childhood. Just an old man in a too-big gown with yellowed skin and tired eyes. He looked surprised to see me. Then embarrassed. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said quietly. I wasn't sure either. We sat in silence. Not the tense kind. Just uncertain. Finally he said, "I've been a cruel father." I waited. I thought control was love. I thought if I kept you in line you'd be safe. That you'd stay. But I just taught you how to leave. I nodded because what else could I do? I didn't know how to be anything else, he said. Not after my father. Doesn't excuse it. Just explains it maybe. There it was. Not begging. Not guilt. Just truth. Or something close to it. He didn't ask me to forgive him. And I didn't offer it. But when he reached out, slow and shaking, I took his hand. We talked for a while, about nothing mostly. Old family recipes. A dog we had once. How Amanda still burned toast. He smiled and it didn't look forced. When I left he didn't say goodbye. Just, "Thanks for coming." I walked out lighter than I expected. Not healed. But not hurting. That Christmas Amanda and I invited him. We didn't expect him to say yes. But he did. He came with a fruitcake no one touched and a sweater 2 sizes too big for me. He sat quietly, let us lead. No sermons. No judgments. Just presence. It wasn't perfect. But it was peaceful. And sometimes peace is enough. The next year passed in slow, steady chapters. Nothing dramatic. No ultimatums. Just cautious attempts at something resembling family. Dad started calling once a week. Short calls, weather updates, news about his garden, random memories he'd suddenly recall. Sometimes we said barely anything. Sometimes we talked for an hour. I never knew which version of him would show up. But I answered. That was new. Amanda took longer. Understandably. She had more scars. But she let him come to her daughter's 2nd birthday. He stood awkwardly in the corner, holding a stuffed giraffe he wasn't sure how to give. When Lily waddled up and took it from his hands without hesitation, something in his face broke open. He didn't cry, but you could tell he wanted to. Later that night, Amanda looked at me and said, "I think he's trying to become someone he wasn't allowed to be." I nodded. "I think he's trying to meet us where we are." Fall came again. Dad had a minor stroke. He recovered mostly. But it shook him. That's when he asked if we'd help him clean out the old house. Said he wanted to sell it. Too many ghosts, he joked. But I could tell he meant it. We went one weekend. Amanda, me, her husband Mark, and Lily bouncing between rooms like a spark of joy in a place that had seen too many closed doors. In the attic we found boxes sealed with masking tape. Some were filled with paperwork. Others with old toys, broken ornaments, photos from the 80s. But one box had something different. Letters. All addressed to us. None ever sent. Some were angry. Some regretful. A few rambled like he wrote them just to feel less alone. Some dated back to when I was in college. Others were barely a year old. He never gave them to us. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he thought he'd missed the window. That night, we sat around Amanda's kitchen table. He looked smaller again, like the years had folded in on him. But he didn't seem afraid this time. Just tired. Honest. "I didn't know how to say these things out loud," he said, tapping the stack of letters. Amanda picked one up. "You didn't have to say them perfectly. You just had to say them." He looked at her. Then me. "Thank you for giving me a second chance. Even when I didn't deserve it." We didn't say "you're forgiven." We didn't need to. The next Christmas we all spent together. Real tree. Too many lights. Burnt cookies. Laughter. He smiled through most of it. Stayed longer than we expected. Watched Lily open presents with wide, blinking eyes like he was trying to memorize every second. That night as he left, he hugged Amanda. Then me. And this time it wasn't stiff. It felt real. "See you next week?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "See you next week." And I meant it. The weeks that followed felt borrowed, like time we weren't supposed to have, but somehow did. Dad started coming over every Sunday for dinner. Nothing fancy, sometimes just pasta or soup. He always brought something unnecessary like a newspaper or a new kind of jam. He'd sit at the table while Lily babbled about cartoons, and Amanda filled in the gaps with warmth. We never talked about the past in full, but it was always there, like furniture no one mentioned but learned to move around. In February he called me one morning, his voice softer than usual. "Think you could drive me to the doctor tomorrow?" I said of course. That's when we found out the stroke wasn't just a stroke. There was something else. Something growing. The scans lit up in all the places they shouldn't have. He had cancer. Stage 4. Aggressive. Quiet until it wasn't. He didn't cry. Not then. He looked at the floor for a long time, then asked the doctor one question: "How long do I have if I don't do anything?" "Maybe a few months," the doctor said. "Okay," he nodded like someone who finally had a finish line. "No hospitals. No chemo. I want to be home." Amanda and I didn't argue. The next 3 months passed in slow motion. We took turns staying at the house. We moved him to the downstairs bedroom. He let Lily draw on the walls with washable markers. He asked me to play guitar once. I hadn't since high school. I didn't think I still could. But I played. And he cried. Some nights we talked. Some nights he just listened to the wind through the trees. One night he said, "You think people know when they've ruined something too late to fix it?" "I think they know," I said. "I just don't think they always know what to do with that knowing." He didn't respond, but I saw the way his hands trembled a little when I left the room. He died in early May. Quietly. At home. With Amanda sitting by his bed and Lily asleep on the couch. I got there minutes after. He'd left a letter on the nightstand. Addressed to both of us. It wasn't long. "You taught me love by surviving the version I gave you. I will never deserve the ending you let me have. But thank you for giving it anyway. If there's a next life, I hope I started as your father again. Maybe this time I'll get it right sooner." We buried him under a tree on a small private plot he'd bought without telling anyone. He said in the will, "I want to be somewhere that still grows." Now every spring Amanda brings Lily to that tree. They plant wildflowers. I sit on the bench beside it, sometimes with my guitar. I play a little. Not because he earned it, but because I did. The first spring without him felt strange. The grief wasn't loud. It didn't come in waves or collapse me in public. It just lingered, like a song I couldn't turn off, low in the background, playing even when I thought I wasn't listening. Amanda and I didn't talk much about the funeral afterward. Not because it hurt, just because we'd already done all the talking before he died. The years of silence, of pain, of learning how to rebuild something fragile. We lived all of that with him. By the time he was gone, there was nothing left unsaid. But absence has its own language. On Father's Day, I went to visit the tree alone. The wildflowers Amanda and Lily planted were blooming wildly, untamed, purples, yellows, white petals catching the wind. I sat there for a long time. I didn't bring flowers. I brought the album. The one he sent after the voicemail. The first small offering in the long, uneven road that followed. I flipped through it slowly. Each page heavier now, more than it had been the first time. Not with regret, but with context. That was the strange thing. Healing doesn't erase the past. It just softens the sharp edges so you can hold it without bleeding. I stopped on a picture of me at 10 years old, holding a carved wooden airplane. I remembered that plane. I'd forgotten he made it. I don't know what made me do it, but I spoke. "Hey," I said. "I hope wherever you are, you're proud of what we turned this into. Even if you didn't know how to start it." The wind picked up through the trees. A few petals lifted from the grass, scattered like confetti. I smiled. Closed the album. Amanda called that night. Lily started asking questions, she said. About Grandpa. About why he wasn't there before, but then he was. "What did you say?" I told her sometimes people are broken for a long time, but if you're lucky they get a chance to put themselves back together. And if you're really lucky they do it while you're still around to see it. I didn't say anything for a while. Then I said, "That's a good answer." She paused. "You think he'd be proud of us?" I didn't even have to think. I think by the end he already was. There wasn't a happy ending. Not really. But there was peace. And peace, we learned, is a kind of love too. Life didn't change all at once after he died. It just kept moving, slowly, gently, like the way a room settles after a storm. Amanda started teaching art classes again. She hadn't painted in years. One night, she sent me a photo of something she'd made. A tall tree with wildflowers at the base and soft light breaking through the branches. In the distance there was a small bench, almost hidden. No people in the painting, just the feeling of someone having been there. She titled it, "Something Still Grows." It hangs in her hallway now. Lily says it's magic. As for me, I started writing again. Not stories, just little pieces. Memories. Moments I wanted to keep. I never meant to share them. But one night I posted a short one online. Just a paragraph about my dad. About how the hardest kind of love is the kind you choose to give after the hurt. I didn't expect anyone to read it. But they did. People wrote back. They told me about their fathers, their mothers, their quiet grief and quiet forgiveness. Some hadn't spoken to their parents in years. Some had tried and failed. Some had tried and healed. I didn't have advice for them. Just a story. Ours. One person messaged me privately and said, "I used to think it wasn't worth trying. Then I read your post. I called my dad. It wasn't perfect, but it was something." I stared at that message for a long time. It made me realize, maybe all of it, the voicemail, the silence, the slow undoing, wasn't just about what happened to us. Maybe it was about breaking a pattern. Giving it an ending that looked different than the beginning. Or at least trying to. Last week, Lily had a school project, family trees. She made hers out of cardboard and glitter and those little foam stickers kids love. She drew Amanda, her dad, me, herself. At the bottom of the tree, she drew someone sitting on a bench under the roots. "That's Grandpa," she said proudly. "He's under the tree now. But he's still part of it." Amanda and I just looked at each other. She was right. Some people leave legacies of pain. Others of love. He left both. But in the end, we chose which one we carried forward. And that's what made the difference. A year passed. Then another. Grief changed shape. It stopped showing up in tears or tightness in my chest. Now it came in softer forms. A smell, a song, the way Lily said, "Ha," when she was thinking just like he used to. Small echoes that didn't hurt the way they once did. Every May we still visit the tree. The wildflowers bloom a little differently each year, but they always come back. Amanda brings coffee. Lily brings drawings now. She tucks them under a small stone by the bench. One time, she whispered to it like she was telling him a secret. I don't interrupt. That's hers. This year I brought something too, a photo. It was taken the last Christmas we had with him. He's holding a mug, not looking at the camera, just watching Lily tear wrapping paper like it's her job. His face is soft. Present. No trace of the man who once left a voicemail threatening lawyers and canceling holidays. I sat on the bench and placed the photo in my lap. For the first time in a long time, I felt something unexpected. Gratitude. Not for the years we lost. Not for the damage. But for the fact that we didn't stay there. That we made it somewhere else. He didn't become perfect. He didn't get a redemption arc wrapped in a bow. But he tried. And in that trying, he left behind something none of us expected. Peace. Not the kind you get by pretending the past didn't happen. The kind you earn by facing it, standing in it, and choosing not to pass it forward. When we left the cemetery, Lily turned to me and asked, "Do you miss him?" I thought about it. "Yeah," I said. "But not like before." She tilted her head. "Like how?" "Like, I miss who he became. And I'm proud of who we did too." She smiled and skipped ahead to the car. I looked back one last time. The tree was still there. Still growing. And so were we.